So I had quite short notice period for this, so I've tried to put something together, and forgive me if I kind of jump and there's any disconnections there. I've tried to throw as much information in as I could in a relatively short time. So yeah, as Willie said, I was a secondary and middle school teacher for years and involved in as a pastoral lead after teaching PE for a significant proportion of that. I then went on to manage an outdoor early years setting, an outdoor nursery, which became a Forest School accredited setting. It was one of the first accredited settings in Scotland. Previously to that, Forest School accreditation had only been given to individuals. So we were an accredited setting, which we were super proud of. We also made a point of employing qualified teachers and included primary age children in our registration so that we could offer the outdoor learning experience to children of primary age who perhaps parents would want to flexi school where that was a possibility, or parents and families who chose a home education pathway. So we tried to give as broad an offer as we possibly could. And when I left the nursery setting, I decided to pursue my own pathway as a freelance forest school leader, and with that I deliver lots of outdoor learning training. I do lots of work for the Scottish Forestry's education arm, which is Outdoor Woodland Learning Scotland. If there's any teachers or educators in the room, Outdoor Woodland Learning Scotland is national, and there are local groups wherever you might be, and the Edinburgh and area-based groups are very active and brilliant at what they do. I do work part-time for Play Scotland, as Willie mentioned, as an OPAL, which is Outdoor Play and Learning Mentor. So that involves going into primary schools and working with teachers and support staff to make playtimes amazing for children. So by that we're introducing all types of play opportunities for lots of children. So I've thrown lots of acronyms at you there, for which I apologise, but now let's talk about play. So this is probably something that's familiar to most people in the room. 16 play types as categorised by Bob Hughes. And when we say that all children should experience play as part of their education learning experience, this is what we mean. It means every single type of play has to be provided for. The opportunity for every type of play has to be provided for. Not every child might want to take up every experience, but as we mentioned a few moments ago, it's about choice, and children need to have that choice and that agency. So that includes risky play, which is best represented here in rough and tumble play, in mastery play with the fire, in deep play. I love that image, roller skates on top of a brick wall, interesting. And in children's imagination, risky play can find its way into any type of play as well. So just quickly before I carry on, just a quick show of hands. Thinking of your own childhood memories, if you cast your minds back just now, what are the first kinds of things which come to mind? And could you pop your hands up if those memories involve you being outside? Lovely, thank you very much. What about any sorts of risk-taking that might have been involved in your play when you were outside? Yeah, most of us, good stuff. And how many of you can remember there being any adults around when you were out there doing your play? Really interesting, thank you for that. I always like to get that picture. Risky play types, we will come back to that, early childhood memories as adults a bit later on. Ellen Sanseter categorised risky play into originally 6 distinct areas. That was play with great heights, play with great speed, play with harmful, she categorised it as harmful tools, I don't quite agree with the word harmful there, and play near, again, what she called dangerous elements. I would just call them elements, such as fire and water. Rough and tumble play, and play where children can disappear or get lost. Rasmus Klepp, who was a PhD student who worked with Sanseter later on, was then responsible for the addition of 2 further categories, which were play with impact and vicarious play, which is really important for children when they just sit back and watch other children doing things they maybe wish they could do or want to do, and they learn from that. It's a really important part of development. Benefits of risky play, I'm sure we could all reel off many. There's a handful on the screen there. Wide-ranging, and all contribute to the development of vital life skills. As well as developing physical abilities, children learn what it is to try, to fail, and try again, and that builds resilience. They develop their vestibular system, their balance, proprioception, understanding where their body is in space, the core strength to support their own body to do such a simple thing as sit in a chair. Risky activities can meet a deep sensory need and provide feedback to support emotional regulation. Children learn more about their own capabilities and limits, and therefore more likely to be able to risk assess their own choice of activities with greater competency, and therefore they will be safer. Through all of this, they develop a strong sense of self, pride in their achievements, and are able to set goals and thereby raise their self-esteem. There's the fun and exhilaration of taking part in the activity, together with the excitement of progress and freedom that this is me and I did this. That's my daughter in that picture there, and I think you can probably see all those things in her face. I love that picture. So for me as a child, my choice of risky play was roller skating. I thought I'd come dressed with the theme. Now, I used to play out on the street where I lived on my roller skates with my best friend, and we were really lucky to live on a no-through road. There was a set of fields at the top of the road, so no traffic coming through, and any traffic there was, well, there were far fewer cars. We're talking the sort of early 80s. And most households on our street, there were 30 houses on the street, most households had a car, so it really wasn't that busy, and we had the freedom to play outside. And the road had a steep incline at the bottom, then it levelled out right in front of where my house was, and then it got steep again at the top of the road outside my friend's house. So we would gradually increase our confidence on our roller skates until we could go whizzing from the top of the hill outside her house, down the road, slow down a little bit coming past my house, where if my mum was looking out the window, maybe it didn't look quite so scary, otherwise I'm sure she would have had plenty to say. And then we'd fly down the bottom of the road, but the bottom of the road met another road coming round a corner. I have no idea how we didn't meet the bin lorry or another car or somebody walking round the corner with their shopping or any of those things, but they never did happen. We all lived to tell the tale, and it's one of my strongest play memories as a child and still something I enjoy doing today. So in my role as an outdoor play and learning mentor for Play Scotland, we actively promote risky play, and it's one of the most challenging things to get across to school staff. We often come across head teachers who sign their school up for the programme, and they're really on board and they support risky play and they want it to happen and they want their children to access all of these play opportunities. But the support staff who are on duty at playtimes and lunchtimes often have no play training at all to prepare them for the role that they're doing. They're terrified that if anything happens on their watch, so to speak, it's all on them. So there's a huge discrepancy that I'm learning all the time here about what's known by educators and what's understood by the staff who are actually on the front line. They clearly want to do their best by the children. They really care about the children they're there for. They're all about developing opportunities for their play, but they're not really very well equipped to support the different types of play, and especially risky play. So we try to encourage them to take a step back, to observe and to find the rich learning that takes place when the adults don't interfere, which is what it is. We're not intervening, we're interfering, let's be honest with ourselves. So as well as sharing images with staff that I'm training, like this image here, that gives immediate feedback as to how they feel about risk when I see their reaction when they look at that. I always also share a fantastic clip from the Play Wales film, This Is Why Play Is So Important. If you've seen this before, I'm sorry, I don't apologise to that. It's fantastic. I could watch it over and over again. So I'm just going to share a really short clip where some other adults talk about their play memory. Now, although that link should be seamless, we've had a bit of a problem this morning, so I'm just going to come out of the presentation into the link separately, make it bigger, and play it. Oh,
the first play memory I can remember, there was a swing in the park, and me and my friend, who I can't remember.
I'm so sorry, this is a technical issue we had earlier, and the very helpful techie person here had sorted it out. It's not playing, but I'm going to play the audio. So if you can manage to tune into the audio, because it is just an adult on screen talking about their play. So apologies for that, but hopefully you'll get it from this one.
And we used to swing and see how high and fast we could get. And right at the top of the swing, we jump off, which is probably really dangerous, but it honestly felt like flying.
I remember being so happy that we had this slide in our back garden. We thought it would be fun, because by then we'd got tired of just going down it the normal way. just to climb to the top and jump off the side. Didn't end well. I ended up breaking both my wrists.
So the first memory I got is being out, up the mountains, sometimes come home for lunch, sometimes we didn't, but playing out with my friends all the time.
I am an only child, and I remember dressing up in my mom's clothes for fun.
Fi'n cofio pryd o'n i'n ferch fach gyda'n brawd sydd yn henach na fi, rhoi coes...
Sorry, unless there's any Welsh speakers here, that one's going to be tricky. She's talking about a game she used to play with her brother where they would put their legs under the living room rug, put some shears at the other end and pretend they were really, really tall. And if I play it through, you'll hear her say really tall at the end, which I always think sounds really cute.
Syni o dan rug o ddam fod yn y lolfa a mi ar yr esgidiad diwedd y rug so ni'n edrych really dal.
There's a theme, though, to my early play memories, and that is that if I was outside, there were no adults around, and nobody had any idea where I was. It was freedom, really.
I love that last line, it was freedom, really. What you haven't been able to see through not being able to watch that is the absolute joy on every person's face when they're talking about their play memories as a child. If you have a chance, I really recommend watching the film. It's called This Is Why Play Is So Important. The whole film is quite long. It includes lots of children playing and talking about what they enjoy doing when they have opportunities to play. It also then has these sections of adults talking about their play memories, and there are other sections like it interspersed throughout the film, and it's just a magical piece of work, so I really do recommend it if you have a chance to watch it, so I'm so sorry about that. Support staff I was talking about in schools, they feel a pressure to be watching every child all of the time. I was talking to a primary head teacher in Glasgow only the other week who had a parent demanding to know why or how their child could possibly have sustained a relatively minor injury when there should have been somebody watching them. It's just unrealistic expectations. And the thing is, we also have to help our children. Sorry, I'm jumping here. It's doing things it shouldn't be doing. There we go. It's unrealistic and unnecessary, and that helicopter culture that's developed is removing agency from children to manage any of their own issues. From being unable to trust their own judgment, to being unable to resolve conflict, and taking away opportunities to develop physical competency. This in turn can feed into academic work and learning, and development in all areas. If a child doesn't believe they can achieve anything by themselves, then, strangely enough, they will find it hard to do so. So through Opal, we remind support staff that it's okay to observe from a distance, and actually they'll see more that way. If they feel something's more risky than they're comfortable with, they might want to move closer. But intervention should only happen if there is a risk of death or serious injury or serious harm. And we use that wording with staff because so often we're jumping in as adults far too soon and not allowing children the chance to learn. And if we can watch in that Play Wales film, adults talking about, yes, I jumped from the top of the slide and yeah, it didn't go well, I broke both my wrists. And she's sitting there laughing about it. Children are resilient, and is a break the worst thing that could happen to a child? Is that a really terrible thing to say? People will make their own judgments about how they feel about risky play and the levels of risk that they are comfortable with. And it's okay that that's different for everybody, but we're encouraging people to think about it a bit differently and give children some respect of their own levels of competence as well. So developing the confidence to supervise children and observe in this way can take time, and it needs teams of staff and adults to work together. But slowly, playgrounds at least are being transformed through educating support staff and empowering them to become play workers. And we're starting to see those changes spread, which is fantastic. We remind staff that children don't have to be kept as safe as possible. Some of the answers to what is safe, children have to figure out for themselves. As adults, we should be looking for as safe as necessary, and that goes back to the what can we do to avoid the most serious of injuries or harm. And now we have benefit risk, which means basically the law is on our side with this. An understanding of how to carry out play-appropriate risk assessments, which are benefit risk assessments, in accordance with the 2023 ISO for play, that firmly centres and leads with the benefits of play activities. And that new ISO has been absolutely brilliant in reframing the language and teaching people to think and talk differently about risk in play. Article 31, of course, helps us hugely, and we're reminding schools that providing for play is just not an option. And this means providing for all types of play. So as we've discussed, and some schools are getting better at creating space and environments for play, but the government needs to support them further to provide the time. And we need a significant sea change to get close to providing more opportunities for spontaneous play. But we feel we're starting to move in the right direction. So yes, schools are getting better at play. Most P1 now have a play-based classroom, but we know, of course, that beyond P1, most schools do need to do much better. There's currently quite a significant disconnect between the experiences of children in an early years setting and those which they experience when they move into schools. We know children learn so much through play. We know the benefits of outdoor and risky play specifically. We know that there are types of play that children get less of as they get older. And we know that the benefits of these play experiences don't end when a child turns 5 or 6. Schools that look more like this would provide children with continuity in play and learning experiences. The expertise exists in early years. The knowledge exists in schools and in teachers. If only we were able to bring those together in, I don't know, you might call it maybe a kindergarten stage, perhaps. At the end of the day, what is it really that we are trying to do in education? What is our key purpose? To prepare children for the real world. And we'll keep them safer if we can support them to encounter and identify risk, to manage and mitigate risk. And if we do this, they'll become more competent, more confident, and more resilient. And therefore, more able to cope with everything else that's expected of them as they learn and grow. Shameless plug of the book. Thank you to Willie for mentioning this. Now, I was, as I said, given quite short notice for coming here today. I wasn't able to get books to bring with me. But what I did manage to do was ask the publishers to provide a discount code for everybody that's here today. So if you wanted to find the book using the QR code, you can. That'll just make it easier for you to find. And I'll leave that up. I can put the screen back to the QR code if anyone needs it afterwards, but I'll put the code up a bit bigger there so you can see it. And thank you very much for having me.